Now take a moment, make yourself comfortable. Whether you're seated in a chair or on the floor, see if you can let yourself really settle in. If you have some support behind your back, let yourself lean into it. If you can feel the floor under your feet, let yourself take that in. And for just a moment, see if you can take in the feeling in your body of really letting yourself sit. As you do that, you might feel like a little wave of breath comes up and comes down again. Sometimes we get a little feeling of settling in when we allow ourselves to rest in this way. We'll begin our movement practice in just a moment, but first, if it works for you, you might scan through your body and start to notice what you're feeling in your body today. If it's helpful for you to close your eyes, you can do that. If it's better for you to stay connected to the world around you, you can keep your eyes open. See if you can notice anything in your head, your neck, your jaw, your shoulders. Sometimes just by bringing our awareness to these parts of our body, we find that they start to let go a little bit. We realize we've been holding on to some tension that maybe the moment doesn't really require. As you continue your scan down past the shoulders, into the chest, into the abdomen, into the lower back, into the hips, you might notice that there are some parts of your body where you have some discomfort or a feeling of pain or stress. See what you notice and see if just for now you can let it be just as it is. I'm not asking you to like it. If there's pain or discomfort, of course, we don't want to force ourselves to like anything. It wouldn't work anyway. But I'm just asking you to see if you can let it be what it is for now. And just accepting the moment, knowing that it's going to change. Something's going to feel different in a little while. And then as we stay here for another moment or two, you might also check in and see, how am I feeling inside? What's my emotional state like today? What's my mental state feel like? You might feel like today you have some good energy. Maybe today you feel a little emotionally tired, or you have some anxiety, or maybe you have some bigger things that you're working through right now. Again, I'm not asking you to like whatever the situation is, but can you just sort of be honest with yourself about what you're facing, knowing that it's not going to last forever, just letting things be the way they are just for now. And at the end of the practice, as always, we'll check in and see if anything feels different. Now that you have some information about what you are working with in your body today, what you're working with your heart and your mind, if you like, maybe you'll set an intention for your practice. Now, this could be something physical for your body, or mental, or emotional, or maybe even spiritual. That's really up to you. If it makes sense for you, maybe you bring your hands to the heart and gently press your palms together. Some folks like that. And if that doesn't resonate, or it feels weird or off to you, then there's no need to do it. Take a moment if you're setting an intention and see if you can feel that intention or imagine that intention being breathed all the way through you. As you breathe in, intention into every cell. As you breathe out, it's an opportunity to let go of anything you don't need right now in this moment. Another breath in and out here. And then if you've had your hands at the heart, we can let them go. And if your eyes are closed, we'll blink them open. We're going to start our practice with the body today with a little bit of bilateral stimulation. So it's a fancy way for saying that we're going to do alternating things with the left and the right. This has been shown to have some really interesting effects on the body and on the mind. In 1986, a woman, scientist whose name I forget, forgive me, was walking, and she realized that as she was walking, her eyes were moving side to side, and that she was feeling like things that had been bothering her weren't bothering her as much anymore. She had a sense of being a little bit distant from them, and she was able to process some of her challenging feelings a little bit. She went on to invent something called Emdr, which is a bilateral stimulation mental health technique where we stimulate the left side of the body, right side of the body alternately. This has been used for trauma, for PTSD, to help people process. Maybe you've even used it yourself. So if you're curious about it, you can talk to your mental health professional. But we can do this for ourselves too. So we'll start today just by tapping our heels up and down. So left heel lifts, left heel down, right heel lifts, right heel down. And we're just alternating. So if you're on the floor, you can extend your legs in front of you and just point and flex the feet alternately. It's a very simple movement, up and down. As you do that, you might remember, if you're someone who's able to walk, you might remember that this feels a little bit like walking, left, right, left, right. And there's something about this that helps us maybe to feel as though we're moving through something, gives us a little sense of distance from our problems, helps us to feel a little more settled sometimes, a little more at ease with whatever the situation is. If it doesn't work for you, it's not because something's wrong with you. It's because not everything works the same for everybody. So we're just going to be a little curious about this and see how it feels. Now let's let go with the feet for a moment, and we'll try something with the arms. Take your hands and cross them in front of your body so the fingers rest on either shoulder. This is called a butterfly hug. We're going to tap the hands. So we tap and tap, tap and tap. You might notice as you do this that your breath changes. If it makes you feel more anxious, don't do it. But if it's something that you're curious about or interested in, we can explore that. Now, we can add the feet to this too. So as you tap your left hand, maybe your right foot lifts. As you tap the left hand, the right foot lifts. If I said the same foot twice, you know what I mean. So we're alternating left and right together. And it's a coordination technique too. So we can challenge our brains in this way to do left and right. If crossing the arms doesn't feel good, you can uncross them and just tap hands on legs like this. Take another moment or two here and just see what you notice in your jaw, in your neck, in your shoulders, and in your breath. And then we'll let that go. And now I'm going to invite you just to shake out the hands. If you're able to shake out the legs or the feet, you can shake them out a little bit too, maybe one at a time. Sometimes shaking is another thing we can do for our nervous system that feels really good, shaking off excess energy or excess tension. All right, let's bring a little more movement into the practice today. So we're going to start with some shoulder circles now. Let's lift both shoulders up, roll them together and down and apart. Big but comfortable movement. So not so big that there's any strain or tension, just comfortably moving the shoulders around. So that bilateral movement, we'll explore it a little bit more in some other postures. This is something that people do naturally for themselves too. You ever noticed if you're somebody who goes for a walk, it's sometimes when we go for a walk, we come back and we feel better. That thing that was bothering us isn't bothering us as much anymore. One of the reasons might be that bilateral stimulation. Let's change the circles the other direction. Together, up, forward, and down. Like you're shrugging the way you wouldn't normally do, shrugging backwards. 2 more of these. And then we'll shimmy that out, shake that out a little bit. All right, great work. Let's scoot forward a little bit on the chair. If you're on the chair with me, if you're on the floor, you can cross or change your legs at any time. And we'll add a little half salutation here, just the arms. So it's a quarter salutation. The arms are going to come up and then the hands are sliding through the heart. Arms lift up. Hands slide through the heart. We're going to add on to this in a moment. Arms reach up. Hands slide down, and now we'll get a little tricky. Arms lift up, turn to your right, come into a twist. Right hand comes to the back of the chair, wherever you're comfortable. The left hand comes to the leg. We're not going to hold this yet. We'll take a breath or two here, and then the arms come up, and hands through the heart. Now we'll go to the left. Arms lift up. Turn to your left. Left hand comes behind you. Right hand rests on either leg. A breath or two here. We're not hurrying or rushing, but we are moving. And then arms up and hands to the heart. Let's do another round like that. Arms lift up. Turn, twist to the right. Arms come up. And we'll do hands to the heart again. Other side, arms lift up. Twist to the left. Good. Nice. Arms come up. And hands to the heart. We're going to hold that twist in a moment, but we're going to add on a little bit first. Arms lift up. Twist to the right. And now we're going to add a little change. Come up through center. And we're side bending to the left. So take your left hand down, lean up and over. Good, we're not holding here yet. We come up and we twist to the left now. Arms come up and now we're side bending to the right. Good, back through center and we'll do hands through the heart to reset. One more time through that one. Arms lift up. Take a twist to your right. Arms come up and a side bend to the left. Arms reach up, twist to the left. Arms come up. Here's that side bend to the right. Now we're going to come into the twist and hold it on this next one. So we come up one more time and now twist to your right and hold. So all of that movement, feel that settling out as we stay with the twist. Let the shoulders soften away from the ears. Notice what's going on in your neck and your jaw. As you stay here for another breath or two, feel how your hips are supported by the chair or the earth. Feel the length of your spine as it lifts, maybe even sort of undulating naturally in its curves up toward the sky. And then there's this twist that we're gently turning around the column of the spine. We'll take one more breath here. And then we're coming back through to center, reach the arms overhead. And we'll seal that one off by bringing the hands to the heart. Let's do the twist to the other side. Stretch the arms overhead. And off to the left. Now settle in. I enjoy the flow of movement. So I like moving from pose to pose like we just did. But I think there's also such a benefit, such a wonderful experience to just being able to sit and hold in the stretch too. Gives us a chance to feel and to notice and to make those little micro adjustments. So if something isn't quite right, we can feel into it and change as we need to. Let's complete the last breath here, and then we'll come back around to center. And again, just hands through the heart. Now we've got a side bend to do to each side, and then we're going to do some warrior poses. Take both arms overhead first. Now keep your left hand up, bring the right hand down to the floor or to your chair, and arc up and over to the side. See if you can let your ear tilt towards your shoulder a little bit. And then with this top arm, some folks might enjoy kind of holding onto the head. Sometimes that feels a little more supportive, or you may enjoy reaching that arm overhead. So we stay here for another breath or two. Remember, we don't want there to be strain, but it's okay to feel a sense of stretch. Might even feel a sense of effort here. To come out of the pose, keep your head and your torso just where they are. Take your left arm out to the left, and we'll take 3 breaths here, as though you could breathe right into the side of your neck. And then imagine that somebody's gently pulling your left hand and bring yourself back up to center. Notice maybe there's a difference between the way the two sides of the body feel. And then let's even that out. Reach the arms overhead. We'll keep your right arm up. Lower your left hand down to the floor or your chair. And now we're side bending, arcing over to your left. See if you can let your ear tilt towards your shoulder. You may not feel like that's okay to do, and that's fine. Remember, you're in charge of your body and it feels right for it. But if you can kind of let it go, it gives a little bit more of a stretch through the side of the neck. Remember that you have the option here to hold on to the head if that feels good. For me, that changes the stretch a little bit. So I like both ways. And then see if you can imagine or feel the stretch in the right side ribs a little bit more. For the last part of the stretch, we sweep the arm all the way across the horizon out to the side. And we'll take 2 or 3 breaths here. And then imagine somebody gently pulling you by that right arm and come back up to the neutral position. Okay, great work. Move around a little as needed. You can turn your head or shake it out a little bit, readjust. Now we're going to come to some half sun salutations. So if you've been seated on the floor and you want to stand here, you're welcome to. If you're in a chair, you're going to stay just as you are. I'm going to show you 2 options, one with the legs closer together and one with the legs further apart. Those of you who are in a chair, you could do the same thing standing. Legs could be together or wide. So we'll start with the legs a little closer. Lift the arms up as high as you comfortably can. It doesn't have to be overhead. It might even be a little in front of you. And now as we fold forward, let's slide the hands through the heart and let your spine round toward or maybe even onto the legs. The head can drop if it feels okay. Bring your fingers up to your shins, somewhere below the knees, and lift the chest like a little back bend. Maybe you feel the muscles right behind your heart start to work a little bit. And then as you slide your hands down, feel that part of your body, your back, rounding and stretching. Now, if you can, we'll push the feet into the floor, come all the way back up with the arms, and the hands come through the heart. Let's try that with the legs a little bit wider and see what changes. Maybe nothing, maybe it's different. We'll see. Arms stretch up overhead. Now you could do hands through the heart, or if you like, the arms could go wide as you go forward. You may feel like you need your hands for support on your legs. That's fine. Do what feels best for you as you slide and round forward. Now I'm a little bit between my legs here, and that feels okay. Bring the fingers up to the shins or the knees, lift the chest, and then let yourself fold one more time. Push the feet into the floor. Feel your legs working, if you're able to, as you reach the arms overhead, and then hands to the heart. For the last one, if you want to explore legs a little bit wider, feel free to do that. If it feels better to keep them more together, that's fine too. Arms overhead. This is our last half sun salutation. Let's fold forward. Now I'm draping between the legs. If that's further than you want to go, you can take the elbows and rest them on the inner thighs or the hands. Fingers come to the shins or the knees. We lift partway up here and then round forward and fold. It's okay if you and I are working at a different pace. No problem. Come back up to that tall position. Arms are reaching. And then hands slide through the heart. Let's pause for a moment. You can either have the hands at the heart or the hands resting comfortably. Check in with your body and see how it's feeling. Notice that there may be some activation. The heart rate might be up a little bit. Make sure everything feels okay. Make any adjustments you need to as we move forward. Now we're coming into some warrior poses. So first we're going to do warrior 2 to the right. So if you're in the chair with me, we're turning the right toes to the right, and then I'm going to ask my left leg to be a little straighter. As I've said to you before, it might be a little more bent, it's no problem. If you're standing, it looks very similar. We just don't have the chair under our hips. Now let's sweep the arms wide if that feels okay. And then look out over your right fingertips. Turn your palms up and see if you can feel as though your shoulders are doing a little less work and the hands are just sort of floating. Now we'll do just a little of that bilateral stimulation here. And we'll do that by alternately bending the elbows. So we'll start by bending the right elbow, bringing the hand to the heart, straightening the right arm again. Left hand in, Left hand out. Let's do that 2 more times each side. Touch, extend, touch, extend. As you're going, see if you can find a little rhythm with it. Rest if you want to or need to, or keep going and see if you can feel that pace, that rhythm, that right and left movement. Now, the next time that your left hand touches in, we'll call that one the last for today. Float the arms down, let the shoulders soften, walk the legs back into center. And then a little shake out here. Let's shake out the hands, shake out the elbows, shake out the shoulders. The shoulders can jump up and down a little bit. If you want to shake out a leg, shake out the other leg, go ahead. One complete breath in and out here. Nice work. Let's come to the second side. Turn your left toes to the left. Get this paper out of the way so you can see my foot. And then straighten the right leg. Now again, your body and my body are going to look different because we have different bodies. So you're working with whatever your situation is and your body, just like I am with mine. Let's take the arms out to the sides and look over the fingertips. Now, we have a couple of options here. We can work with the hand to the heart, alternating movement, or for something a little bit different, we can bend one hand, touch behind the head, extend the arm, bend, touch, extend. So as you're doing that, whatever you're doing, find a rhythm and see if you can let that rhythm itself feel like it's really yours. You may feel as though the rhythm is calming. Maybe you feel stimulated. See if you can just notice. And if anything feels stressful, then it's your choice to do it or not to do it. Right? Sometimes stressful can be okay, like, oh, I'm learning something and trying something, and it feels like that's an interesting kind of stress. Other times it feels like, no, thank you, I have plenty of stress in my life already. The next time that your right hand touches out and in, let's pause right there. If your arms are still extended, feel the reach of the arms, feel the breath in the body. And then let the hands float down. Let's walk the legs back in. Shrug the shoulders out a little bit if they need to. If that shaking felt good, you can do that. Or we might do a little brush off. Taking your hands and brushing off, like you're brushing off any stress that's kind of hanging on to you. If you had an interaction with somebody earlier that didn't feel good, you're brushing that off. These literal movements, you may find yourself doing these things throughout your day, throughout your life, because there's a wisdom to it, right? We can feel sometimes there's something on us that doesn't feel good and we want to wash it off or rinse it off. Okay. Let's come back to a half salutation before we move on to another warrior pose. So you choose, legs could be together, a little bit wide or wider. When you're ready, arms lift up. Now hands could come through the heart or they can come out to the sides as we fold forward, whatever is working best for you. Slide the hands up the legs, lift the chest and fold forward again. Here we go, back up to our tall position with the spine, reach through the arms, and then hands through the heart. Let's come back into our warrior two position. Turn your right toes to the right, left leg extends. Before we add the arms, take a moment and ask yourself if you need the arms. If your arms are tired, your shoulders are tired or stressed out, you can always work without the arms. If it feels okay, we can add the arms. Maybe try that palms up position. Now we're going to do just a little side bend here. It may not even be a side bend. Let's call it a side lengthener. We're going to take your back arm, your left arm, and either drop it down the leg or rest it on the waist, or maybe it comes behind the back. So I've kind of tucked it back. Now the right arm stretches up to the sky for Exalted Warrior. Your body may feel like this is far enough and you're getting plenty. If it feels okay, you might curl your spine to the left. So it's a side bend to your left. Your ear drops to your shoulder, just like we did earlier in that twist, or in that side bend rather. As you stay here for a moment or two, see if you can stay connected to the feet, to the torso, to the left arm and the right arm. Remember, you've got the option of hand on head if that feels good. And then we'll tip ourselves back up, release the arms through Warrior Two, down to the legs. Walk the feet in, take a moment to breathe in and out. So that's a pose called Exalted Warrior. Let's try that second side, see how it feels. Feet go wide, left toes turn left, right leg sort of straightish. Arms if you want them. And then that back arm, your right arm now either drapes down the side, tucks behind the back, or rests on the hip. Left arm reaches up first, and just imagine that you're using your hand to pull the rib cage up and away from the hips. So there's this feeling of kind of lifting. Then if there's any more to give, if your body feels like this is okay, and I wouldn't mind a little more, we might start to think about leaning a little side to the shoulder to the side, almost like a weeping willow, or like the very bottom of a rainbow where it just starts to arc. Imagine your spine moving in that way. It doesn't need to be big in order to be effective. We'll take one last breath here. And then back up through Warrior Two. Walk the feet back towards center. Okay, before we move on, let's just take a little work for the neck. We're going to gently turn, look over one shoulder. Gently turn, look over the other shoulder. One more time, look right and look left. Back to center, gentle, ear to shoulder, right ear, right shoulder. Center, left ear, left shoulder. And one more time each way on your own. Just making sure that we're not carrying on any unnecessary neck tension. Sometimes when we work with the shoulders, we tend to get a little grippy around the neck. I want to make sure that we're not kind of hanging on to that as we move. All right, last, maybe the last, we'll see. Warrior pose. This time we're going to come into a variation on Warrior One. So my right toes turn to the right, and now the left leg again is sort of straight. You'll see my knees actually a little bent, and for today that feels really good in my body. Make sure that you feel stable and supported by the chair. If you're standing, you can either do Warrior One, or if you like and you feel stable, you can lift your back heel and come into a high lunge instead. So I'm sort of doing a chair lunge with the heel up. Depending on your body in the chair, that may or may not work. Now, the primary difference between our Warrior Two, where the chest is square to the side, and our Warrior One is that the chest is facing off to the right. So see if you can find that first. And then we're going to turn this into a little twist. Take your left arm and stretch it up by the ear first. And now we're going to imagine that there's something off to the left that you want to look at. Turn your head comfortably, turn your chest comfortably, and then with your right arm, hold on to either the back of the chair, or maybe your right hand wants to wrap around the back of your body. If you were standing, that might look like this. So we're doing a little twisty side bend. If you had a lunge position, the heel would be lifted, which lets you twist a little bit further. So there's no strain here. We're just gently inviting the body to twist and maybe side bending a little bit into the pose as well. If it's too much to have the arm overhead, we've done a lot of arm overhead work, just let the hand rest at any time. This is a great pose with the hand on the leg too, as I'm showing right now. Let's come back around through the center. Walk the legs in and take a moment. I love using the chair for that pose. The leverage of using the back of the chair feels really nice in my body. So that's one that I enjoy. Okay, left toes to the left. right leg back. So we're in our chair warrior one or our chair lunge, same thing standing. Now, up to you what you do with that back leg. I'm turning it and I have the heel up, so it's just a little bit different from the warrior where it's straighter. And that lets me move a little bit more through this hip. The chest is facing the left. The right arm reaches up. Now, pause here for a moment, make sure everything feels okay. Then we start to side bend just a little bit toward the back of the chair or to your left. And then the left hand might grip on to the back of the chair if that feels good. It could also come to the seat, or it could wrap around behind the back a bit. So again, if that's just in case that's confusing, here is the standing version, the non-chair version. And then in the chair, the right arm is up. The left hand is either holding the chair or it's touching onto the back. And there's a little twist to the left and a little side bend to the left as well. You're only going as far as feels comfortable for you. This one's a little complicated in the body, so just talking you through it a little bit more. And we'll come back around through to center. Really nice work today. We've done a lot of twists and a lot of side bends. We've done a lot with the shoulders. So let's just pause for a moment and let some of that integrate and settle in before we move on. Maybe taking 2 or 3 breaths here. If it's helpful to close your eyes to feel inside, you can do that. Or you might keep the eyes open and just take in whatever room or sights you're seeing. We'll take a pigeon pose variation next. So we can do this a couple of different ways if we're not in a chair, but in a chair, I'm going to show you 2 ways, and then I'll show you what you might do if you're not in a chair. So if you're in the chair with me and you're able to cross your right ankle over your left thigh, like I'm showing here, that's the starting point. If that's almost okay, but not quite, you might try walking that left foot forward a little bit, or you can hook the ankle behind the thigh. So again, this is the chair variation I'm showing here. If you're going to be working on the floor, you will lie down on the floor, make sure my body's visible in the camera, and you're going to cross the ankle over the thigh like so. You could also prop it up on a chair, which is a pretty nice way to do it too. Okay, so this is our pigeon variation. If you know another one, you're welcome to take it. There are very many ways to work with this. Now, if you've got the heel resting or the ankle resting on the thigh, you might start to explore leaning forward. If you're on your back, you might pull the knees in toward you if that feels good, if you're doing that lying down variation. If you have the ankle hooked behind the knee, see if you can encourage that right thigh to sort of soften out to the side, and imagine that the muscles of your right leg get very heavy and soft here. That's really good, important work. We'll take 2 more breaths where we are. I know that was a lot of instruction. There's a lot of variables here, so thanks for being patient with all the talking today. And then we'll come on up and uncross the ankle from the leg. Whether you're on your back or in the chair, we can do some windshield wipers here. The knees come in, the knees come apart, knees come in, knees come apart, just rocking a little bit through internal and external rotation with the legs. When you're ready, let's try that other leg. Cross the opposite ankle over the thigh, whichever side you did. We're doing the other one now. Or you're hooking the heel behind the ankle of that knee and encouraging that left leg now to soften and relax a little bit more, letting the thigh bone feel heavy. So crossing the ankle over the knee is not accessible to everybody, and that's okay. If it is accessible to you and you find that you want more stretch, you start to tilt forward a little bit until you get a stretch through the back of the hip. This is one that's sometimes helpful to do if you've been sitting a lot, if you've been driving a lot, if you're in an airplane, to stretch into the back of the hip. Check in again with your shoulders and your neck. Make sure that everything up there feels okay. And we'll just take 2 or 3 more breaths where you are. Okay. Take your time to come back into a neutral position. If you're on the floor, you might just stay with the head on the floor and the knees bent, resting for a moment or two. If you're with me in the chair, pause and let the body sort of integrate and absorb what we've done so far. Complete breath in and out. And see if you can notice again your head, your neck, and your shoulders. How are they feeling? What do you notice in your chest, your lower back, and your belly? We're going to take one last set of that butterfly hug before we rest in our meditation or our shavasana. So if it felt okay, you can do this with me again now. We're crossing one arm over another. And I'm going to cross my less habitual way. So when you go to do it, there's one way that always feels easy first. See how it feels to do the other arm on top instead. It'll be up to you if you want to add opposite foot tapping or not. So we're just going to tap hand on shoulder, hand, tap, 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 tap. Feel free to add a foot if that's available to you, or just to stay with the hands. Notice what kind of quality this has in your body. Notice if it feels soothing or restful. If it does not, or if it feels like it's producing anxiety, then you know that it's just not right for you right now. Feel free to stay with this for another moment or two, or you can just let yourself rest for a moment. Hands come down. Before we come into our last pose together, shavasana or meditation, I invite you to do some little circles with me. So if you're lying down, you might come back to a seat for this part. We're just going to start to lean a little bit left and right. If you're seated on the floor, you could have your legs crossed or you could have your legs wide. As you lean a little bit left and right, if you can see me and you want to align your body with mine, sometimes that can be very soothing. Matching up our bodies to someone else's body, doing what we call co-regulation, can help us to feel more settled and grounded in the body. Now you can stay with that left to right, or you can start to make it into a circle. Doesn't need to be big. Again, if you want to try to match the rhythm that I'm working with, you're welcome to, or you may find that your body has its own rhythm that wants to go into. Next time, if you're circling, next time you come forward, we're going to go the other way. Some of the things that I've shown you in these classes are really just little tricks for nervous system support, little things we can do to help support ourselves. Our nervous system is always working for us to help to mitigate what it perceives as danger, what it perceives as a challenge. So we can work intelligently with that. We can use that energy in a wise way and use our bodies in a wise way to start to feel better. All right, if you're circling, you might start to come back into stillness. And then make yourself comfortable for this last part of our practice together. If you'd like to lie down, you're welcome to do that. If you're seated in a chair, it might feel nice now to lean against the back of the chair. If it feels good to close your eyes, you're welcome to do that. Or as always, you're welcome to keep them open. See if you can sense the overall feeling tone in your body and your heart and your mind right now. See if you can notice what might feel different in your body since we had 45 minutes of this mindful work today. You might check in and see how the breath is moving through you. And if that makes you feel stressed, then please don't. I'm going to suggest just a little physical action with the body as we rest here. Follow along if you like, or tune me out if you don't. See if you can feel how your head is balanced at the top of your spine. You might even move your head gently left and right, or front and back, side to side. And then see if you can find that perfectly balanced position where the head is just resting at the top of the spine. Notice too, we can do the same with the shoulders. We can lean a little left and right. We can shrug the shoulders up and down. And then see if you can find the place where your shoulders settle for the minimum amount of energy or effort. Same thing with the legs. We might gently move them around a little, shifting left and right, or move the toes or the feet. Like you're giving them one last chance to wiggle around before we settle. Although, of course, you always have the right and the permission to move whenever you need to. And then ask your body if it might be able just to settle here for a moment or two. Not trying to create any special feeling, just letting ourselves rest in the feeling that we've created for ourselves, whatever that is right now. You might be feeling like your body is at ease. Maybe that's not something you're able to access right now. Wherever you are, see if you can let yourself be exactly where you are, as you are, without needing to change. We'll stay here for a moment or two to rest. Now, if you have a little more time in your day and you're able to sit or rest longer, please know that you are always welcome to do that. That's always an invitation. Otherwise, if you've budgeted for just the time allotted today, our 45 minutes, we're right up against that time slot. So if the eyes have been closed, you might start to blink them open. And maybe it's interesting now to look around as though you were seeing your space for a whole brand new time. Maybe not for the first time, but as though you haven't seen it in a while. Take in the lights and the color. Now imagine that you're feeling your body from inside for the first time in a while. What does it feel like to move? What does it feel like to stretch or twist or turn? Is there any movement that's kind of calling to you? Maybe a little twist, maybe a little wiggle. And finally, if it makes sense to you, you might bring your hands back to the heart one more time, or just pause for a moment in mindfulness. Set an intention for whatever comes next in your day. We'll take one breath together in and out here. And then if your eyes have been closed, blink them open. And that's our practice for today. Thanks so much for joining.